Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the stream and a new day, which I have to check which it is. It's Monday. It's April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. I gotta admit, few days ago, I had an idea, but with the recent events of things happening, I completely misplaced this date, and I can't say I prepared a practical joke or anything for April Fools, but I do have a story for you. Now I know because it's April Fools, you guys are gonna think that this is my April Fools attempt, and I wish that were true, but it's not, and it's definitely a story worth listening to. Let me just turn this on. That on. Right. So, yesterday we had a short stream. It started around 10, right? Was it around 10? And I had to end it around 1. So it was only a 3-hour stream. We played some World of Warships, and it was okay. Not gonna lie, by the end of the stream, I was already bored with ships, so I was in a way glad that it was done. At least when it comes to World of Warships. But yeah, it was about 3 hours. We were playing the Pinata mode. Published a video on YouTube if you haven't checked it. My first game there ever. There's gonna be some more later coming on. But anyway, around 1, quarter past 1, when we were done, went to, take a shower, grab some clothes, get ready, and we were gonna go to my grandma's place for lunch. My parents were gonna be there. It was gonna be gnocchi with meat sauce. We call it, well, that wasn't pastizada, but it's like a meat sauce. I don't know how else to call it. I haven't seen grandma in a while, so I was like, okay, cool. Let's go see her and my parents. And then after that, after spending a few hours there, we were gonna go to Mrs. Parents' place. Her sister and her husband and her kids were there. Mom and dad were there. Second sister was there. Essentially her whole family was there, so we were gonna go visit them, spend some time with them, and then at some point in the early evening we were gonna go back home, and that was gonna be it for the day. Well, it all started with the amount of bags that we had when we were leaving the apartment. I had to clean the litter for cats, which was 1 bag, and then there was our trash, which was a 2nd bag. Mrs. was carrying a couple of bags of like goodies for Easter and stuff like that. And we were kind of shuffling around in the hallway. So we left the apartment. In the midst of all that, move this bag, carry that bag, hand over that bag, blah, blah, blah. And we went to the car. Oh, no, I'm lying. Mrs. was without the car. Of course, this had to happen. Mrs. was without a car for a few days. So we took an Uber. We take an Uber from my place to my grandma's place. It's only a few minute ride, like 5-minute ride. But the weather was really shit, and we were carrying things, and like you don't want to spend 15-20 minutes walking if you don't have to, especially you don't want to get sweaty and all that. So we took an Uber, and we get there. We spend a few hours there. Grandma's doing okay. One of her arms looks like it's completely healed. The other one is potentially never gonna heal, but and after that, we were gonna take an Uber to her parents' place, but my dad offered. It's like, I'm going home anyway. It's in the same direction. Of course, he's gonna have to go further and then come back, but it's like it's not an issue. I'll take you there while you're gonna spend money on Uber. I'm like, okay. So he takes us from grandma's place to her parents' place, and then we spend few hours there. Funny enough, her dad also had a birthday, I don't know, a week or two ago, that they never got to celebrate because he wasn't home. So now they were preparing a birthday cake and a birthday party in the middle of Easter and all that. So it was kind of nice atmosphere and everything. We had some good laughs. We had some good fun. And then we decided, all right, we are gonna leave. This is where it starts getting funny. So first, husband of her sister knows my girlfriend pretty well, and he starts trolling her how when we were gonna leave that she's probably gonna come back anyway because she's gonna forget her keys or something like that. Hey, Nortu, yo, thank you for 30 months, man. There was one other. Let me just turn on the apps so we can catch that up. Darth Malachor, thank you for the sub. Welcome to the team. I believe, if this isn't lying, that's your first month. I appreciate it. So we get out, and halfway down, because they live on like second floor, so halfway down I realize, oh, I didn't bring my wallet. I have my phone, but I don't have my wallet. So I come back. Her sister and her are already laughing because they know the husband of her sister's gonna start laughing his ass off when he sees one of us coming back for the keys, because keys is what usually someone forgets. It's kind of an important detail, but never mind. And I walk in there and I'm like, oh, it's not her, it's me. Forgot the wallet. So yeah, few laughs and jokes crack. I pick up my wallet, we leave. Now she's gonna take her car, her dad's car. We're still using that until we can get our own. We take her dad's car and we go home. This is about 7:30 at this point. I think so. Yep. We find the perfect parking spot. I mean, you get into the parking lot, you go straight throughout the entire parking lot, and then right at the end, you don't have to even turn your wheel. It's perfect. And it's as close to the building as you can get. Perfect. We get out, and we are getting in front of the doors from the building, and I tell her, well, you got the keys. And she's like, no, I don't have the keys. I'm like, well, I mean, you do. I gave them to you probably when we were leaving the apartment. Because I'm wearing, what do you call it? Like, what do you call this? They're not jeans, they're just trainers. Sure, trainers. So I very much enjoy and love wearing trainers because they are very comfortable, and they don't squeeze you. They're always gonna be the perfect width or whatever, and I really enjoy wearing them home and outside if I can, unless we're going to a special place where you gotta need to have some sort of pants that are nicer or something like that. I'm pretty much always gonna be in trainers. So I'm like, yeah, I don't have them here. And I wouldn't carry them here because I know that they can slide out of my pockets when I sit at places, especially in a car, because When you're sitting like this, it's fine. If you're sitting normally, it's kind of fine. But when you sit in a car and you're as tall as me, your legs kind of go in the opposite direction, so the keys slide down and out of your pockets. And often you're not even going to realize that. You're not going to hear it. You're just going to lose the keys. So that's why I don't bother carrying keys with me. And I just give it to Mrs. because she has a bag, like most women do, and just put it in there, and that's it. She can't find the keys. The keys are not apparently hers. So we're standing here at around 7:30 in the evening. Heavy wind is blowing outside. We've just spent the whole day outside doing things. We visited like all of our parents and families and blah, blah, blah. We went to like 2-3 different places. Took 2-3 different rides. And now we're standing in front of our home, kind of happy that it's 7:30 and we still have a couple of hours before bed and we can go watch something and chill and just lie down and whatever. And we can't find our keys. Now, Mrs. knows a detail that I do not. But she doesn't tell me this until way later. She knows that you can, because the lock is screwed up, you can just push the door of the building and you will open them. If you push a little bit harder, you will open the door regardless that they're closed, and you would technically need a token to open them. But because people are idiots and they use force and violence to break stuff, so are these doors. I don't know how Mrs. found that out, but she knows. But she doesn't tell me this. So as far as I know, we can't even get into the building unless we want to start buzzing random people for whatever reason. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to bother anyone else. If I can't get into the building, I can't get into the apartment anyway, because the keys and the token are both on the same spot. It would have been nice to get all the way in front of your door, since you got this far, but whatever. So now we're thinking, okay, she's gonna start searching her bag, and she searches her bag like 5 times thoroughly. She found all sorts of things and keys, but not these. I don't even have anything to search. I have 2 jacket pockets, 1 inside pocket, and 2 trainer pockets. The keys are not there. And I never, for the entire day, I never considered that I had the keys, because there was no reason for me to have the keys. Sure, I was the one to lock the door and stuff, and then I would just immediately hand her the keys. And I'm starting to think back, and I can't have a recollection of keys anywhere throughout the entire day past the doors. Past the doors of our apartment. Like, I just cannot think of it. Now, this is a detail that you don't normally really actively think about, right? It's just something that the muscle memory does. You get in, when you're getting into the apartment, you look for keys, you unlock the door, you get in, you close the door, you lock the door. And the same procedure when you're leaving the house. You take the keys, you open the door, you close the door. After you get out, you lock the door, take the keys and go. You don't think about it. Your brain is not trying to remember those details because they're irrelevant. So I'm having a really hard time trying to recollect exactly where. And I can't. I literally cannot think about these keys anywhere past the point. And the funny part is, I'm remembering a memory of me trying to hand over the keys to Mrs. and her having her hands full and turned away from me, that I'm trying to put the keys in her bag, but it doesn't look safe, so I decide not to. That's it. And that happens in the elevator. Turns out that memory wasn't from this day, it was from a day before. But that's the last that I can remember, and now that memory is the freshest memory of keys, so I'm thinking that happened today. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, so they can be, they either fell out in an Uber, I left them at the grandma's place, they fell out in my dad's, while I was in my dad's car, out of my pockets, or we left them in her place, her parents' place. I don't remember putting keys anywhere in her parents' place, and I certainly didn't see them when I was picking up my wallet. I don't think they're there. My dad went to search his car after we talked to them. He said he searched the whole car, he couldn't find them, so it's not there. My grandma searched the entire apartment, although I know exactly where I would leave those keys because it's always at the same place and there's no reason to put them anywhere else. She searched her whole place, she couldn't find them. And that leaves us with the culprit number 1, Uber, which is of course the first ride and the biggest chance. So at this point I'm 100% certain my keys were left in an Uber, which is pretty bad news. I've never had to try and get in touch or in contact with an Uber before. Can I even find who my last ride was? How can I even get in touch with them? Did anybody steal them for whatever reason? So I go to my Uber and I'm looking for my last ride. I find my last ride. I'm not checking the date. I'm not checking the name. I'm not checking the place. I'm just looking for the last ride we took. And I call a guy. The guy picks up and I'm like, hi, this is that and that. I had a ride around this time from this location to that location. I lost my keys. I presume it's in your car. And he's like, my guy, you must have something wrong. I haven't driven the car in 5 days. I'm like, I just went to my last ride and I got your contact. He's like, you must have done something wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, there is nothing wrong I could have done. You are my last ride, but I mean, okay, sure. If the guy says he hasn't driven in 5 days, what can I do about it? So I close the phone call. Now I go to check the details of the ride. Yeah, this was the ride like 5 days ago, but now I'm thinking to myself, this doesn't make any sense. We took a ride this day, and then I realized, oh, it was one of those few occasions when Mrs. was the one calling an Uber. So it's on her phone, the ride that we had. This ride is my last ride, but it's from a week ago. So she has to call an Uber. And this guy, at this point, it's already like 8:30, I don't know. This guy doesn't pick up at the first time, picks up at the second time and says that he is not at the car nor the driver at the moment. He gave the car to someone else because there apparently multiple people are using the same car for this Uber ride. And he can't reach any of them at the moment and blah, blah, blah. And instead of Mrs. pressing him a little bit because we are locked out, like, you have my phone, give me a call if you find anything or something like that. And that's it. Way later in the talks, I was like, Jesus, you should have asked him at least when. Because right now we are left stranded. Do I wait for him in a half an hour, hour, two? Next morning, next day, next week? We don't know. We have no clue. We have no idea how long we are supposed to wait for this guy, if we're supposed to wait for this guy at all. There is one more option that I would really prefer avoiding, and that's calling my house lord, telling him that I lost the keys if he's got spare. Now you might be thinking, do you really not have spare? I do. And those keys are Mrs. keys. But what did Mrs. do? She left her keys at home because there's no reason to bring 2 pairs of keys. Okay, there is a story with the third set of keys, which I made years ago, and I was supposed to give them to my parents' place so that whenever I have to go on a trip, whether it's TwitchCon or vacation or whatever, my parents can access the my apartment without me having to physically bring them the pair of keys. But these keys, for some bizarre reason, didn't work. I can't explain. That's all we know. I hand her over a key from the building, the key from the door, and the token from the building. Only the token worked. Neither of the keys worked. What kind of a copy of a key did we get? I have no idea, but we must have gotten the wrong copies of the key, which we found out way later when she was actually supposed to do it and couldn't. Luckily, we weren't away for too long, so the cats weren't left alone for too long. Of course, me being locked out of my apartment also means that I have 2 cats, which are soon going to be without food and water, and Molly is not able to receive medicine. At this point, we went back to my grandma's place to search a little bit more. Nothing. We searched the places where we got in and got out of the rides, both Uber and my dad. And I am really starting to think like, fuck. I send a message. First I give a call to my house lord. He's not picking up. Then I send him a message explaining the whole situation, how we didn't have the car, we had to use an Uber, and we think that the keys slipped out of my pocket into an Uber. We got in touch with him, but he blah, 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 and the spare keys is inside the apartment. We don't have any keys. We can't enter our apartment. Does he have a spare that he kept for himself? And if so, can he get in touch? But he's not answering. Last time he checked the phone was 7:30. This is like 9 p.m. at this point. So now we got to start picking a place. Do we go to my parents' place? Do we go to my grandma? Do we go to her parents' place? Because we got to spend the night somewhere. Luckily, there's no work tomorrow, which is today, because it's Easter holiday, day after Easter. But that doesn't mean much good. I'm still in trouble. And I'm thinking, this is turning out to be a really shitty day all of a sudden. One with a story for sure, no matter how this ends, but I could have totally not had this happen. So now I'm starting to call people who can break the lock. Now, the thing you gotta understand, my door isn't just a regular door. It's not a wooden regular door. Those doors you can break open fairly quickly and simply. As far as I know, with a screwdriver and a hammer, you can break it open. But this is a metal reinforced door. We call them blindo here because they're blindo doors. You essentially they're like metal doors with metal bars. A lot of people actually have it at these places. And if you need to break that lock open, you're going to need a drill. It's going to take an hour or 2 depending on what type of lock it is, how old it is, and all that. But either way, he's going to fuck up your door, your lock. He's going to make a shitload of noise, and it's going to take a while. And it costs between 180 to 280 euros, depending on the type of the door. How I know all this, I had to call the guy and ask him, can he do it? What does it take? How long does it take? How much does it cost? When can he come? And he was like, I don't care. I could come immediately. I could come later in a few hours, even though at this point it's already like past 9 p.m. And I'm thinking he's okay at coming in a few hours after 9. We're getting close to midnight on Easter. This guy's got no life, but I'm not judging. I'm just thinking. But it's good. It's good for me, but I don't want to do anything before I get in touch with the house lord. Plus, doing anything at this hour that's going to cause so much noise is going to get the neighbors restless, and I don't want to. I want to avoid that. So I'm thinking to myself, fuck, I'm not getting home. I'm not getting home tonight. No matter what we do, we're not getting home tonight. The best case scenario is at this point that the house lord gets in touch with me with spare keys. Then we can get in our apartment and we got spare keys in there. We'll just make a new one and so on and so forth. But he's not getting in touch. The next best case is we go at someone's place, spend the night there, which is definitely not a good case, but sure. And then first thing in the morning, we get in touch with the house lord, and if he's got the keys, good. If he doesn't, I call this guy and he's got to break the lock. I got to pay a few €100. We got to make all this noise. I have to make whole new keys, get new tokens. It's like, I'm already in a dark place at this point, and it's evening and I'm tired and my back is killing me and I just want to lie down and chill. But in talking with the missus, I told her that I would have preferred if we got to our actual door, off the apartment, because that's the only place we haven't checked. If the keys maybe fell on the ground, if they were left in the elevator, I don't know. That is the only two places we haven't checked. But we can't get into the building. And then she says, oh, we can. You just push a little bit harder and the door opens, no problem, because somebody screwed up the lock anyway. I'm like, why didn't you tell me this immediately? Why didn't you, without telling me, just use this to get into the building? And then we would have immediately went in front of the door and checked that, so now we don't have to go back. She's like, I didn't think about it. All right, fuck it. Last resort. Let's just go check. And then after that, we're going to go to my place. We're going to pick up some clothes there. Well, my parents' place. And then we're going to go to her place. She has to pick up some clothes. And then I guess we'll either stay there or go somewhere. I don't know. I'm already hating everything about this. So we go back to our place. Once again, we're checking around everything. Every step we took, you're looking if anything happened. Copium at this point. And funny enough, now the doors of the building are open. Somebody opened the doors and then pushed them all the way, and now they're kind of stuck open. So we don't even need the force to get in. So we get in, we're looking around, nothing on the ground floor. I'm looking at my locker for my mail, if anybody found the keys and put them in there, if they somehow knew it was me. It's not like there's a name on it, but nope. Okay. We get into the elevator, nothing. And I'm just thinking to myself, I hate everything about this, and this copium and false hope and everything. We get to 6th floor, which is where I live, and I find myself in a bit of a rush. Like, I'm excited, but I don't believe it. I'm opening the door of the elevator. I push my head out, and the fucking keys are in the lock. The keys were in the freaking door the entire time. They're just dangling there. And I'm like, no way, Jose. No fucking way. I go for the lock. I didn't even lock the door. And now I'm thinking to myself, so with all those bags and trash and cat shit and everything that we were shuffling outside, at some point the doors must have closed and we just left, never bothering to lock the place and take the keys, which is exactly why I never had any recollection of doing anything with the keys, nor at any of these places and any of these rides where we went. I don't have recollection of keys because the keys were never there. This was by far the best case scenario, because we just entered and the keys are there, and I send a message to my house lord. We found the keys, no problem. We send the message to the Uber. It's okay. Which, by the way, if you ever need an Uber and you lost an item and you gotta call them, make sure you get all the information you need and more, and exchange numbers and everything on the first call. Because the first time you get in touch with an Uber is the last time you'll be able to call them. I don't know, was it the guy who disabled the capability of someone calling him, or was it Uber giving you one chance? Because after that, you got to go through an email. And then that's it. So pretty much, if you got to call an Uber for a lost item or for whatever reason, make sure you got everything nailed in the first call. Also, when you call them, they immediately call you back. But this is like an Uber official number. Even though you're going to be redirected to the driver, you're never going to know his actual phone number. So when you talk to them, make sure you know, they leave you his number or the other way around, and you get every piece of information you need on the first call. Don't just be, okay, hang up, and then be like, oh, what about this? Because you're never getting in touch with them again, if my case is anything to go by. So we sent an email or something to Uber. It's fine. We found it. We called the guy for the locks because he told me to call him no matter what. I told him it's fine. We found him. The house lord, fine. We find him. Her parents, my parents, grandma, everybody. It's like, yep, it's here. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I'm in my apartment. Like, I was already 1,000% sure I'm spending the night somewhere else. And we're going to have to go through a very expensive and loud procedure before I ever enter my apartment again. But we were actually extremely lucky. And the keys were just there. So now I wish that I could tell you. I wish I could tell you that this is an April Fool's joke. But it isn't. This actually happened yesterday. And as I'm sure you've noticed, it's a very, very detailed story that it would be hard to kind of imagine all this. But yeah, that was my Easter afternoon / evening. It didn't go nearly as well as I hoped. But it has a happy ending, so I'm happy. Morvion, thank you so much for 58 months, man. Appreciate it. All right, so